welcome to what is the final episode of the Mandalorian project. In this video I have 3 new minifigures. One is a remake, one is a redo, and one is a completely new minifigure. So first we have Katan, then Fennec, and then finally we of course have Cara Dune. Now this is the last episode in the Mandalorian project, at least I think, unless I go back and revisit it again in the future. The next episode will be the full showcase with 8 of the best minifigures from the Mandalorian project. So without further ado, let's get into it, first with Katan. So here we have Lady Katan. Now this minifigure was quite a challenge, as there was quite a few things which I haven't really tackled before. The first biggest problem was the hairpiece. Now whilst I'm still not entirely happy with the hairpiece now, I think it did come out quite nice. It could be a bit longer however. I could have even not done any hairpiece at all, I could have just done a helmeted face, but I decided, as my last Mandalorian minifigure was Din and he didn't have a helmet and he had his head with the hair, I decided to go with this one as well, just for a bit of continuity I suppose. The actual hair was done with a Han Solo hairpiece, which I then just sculpted onto obviously and got all the different lines and things in. Then I sculpted that headband on in the front about 5 times before I got with one which I thought looked kind of acceptable. I still do think it looks a bit strange though, and that was just painted with orange and silver and then was washed in brown. Moving down to the torso, which is where I think I did the best. I think that the armour on the torso is really good. I've got very familiar with sculpting Mandalorian armour at this point, because I think I've done about 20 at least by now. So I was really comfortable doing this. This is really quite fun to do, and it's just painted in silver and it's got some black and things as well. Arms are pretty simple as well. It was just some simple sculpting for the gauntlets and the shoulder pieces. However, painting that night owl symbol was quite tricky, but I think it looks pretty good. The back piece on the torso has 2 magnets as usual, and then I've just got that jetpack which also has the 2 magnets so that it can attach to the back magnetically. That jetpack, once again, like in my last Din minifigure, is not actually mine. I got it from a third-party Lego reseller, and then I just modified it a bit and added the clay and things to accommodate for all of the magnets and everything, and then it's all painted. I just painted that in silver first, then I used some pewter, which is like a darker silver, then I added in the blue, then some more battle damaging. The legs were really quite simple, so I'm not really going over them. It was just some simple sculpting and then some painting. Some things I'd like to note as well is also those blasters are not designed by me, I just painted them up. They're also from a third-party reseller, and then also that face is actually painted by me apart from the eyes and also some other small features, but for the most part it's all painted by me. Overall, I am really happy with how this figure turned out. You can see my last attempt at Katan in the old Mandalorian project, and I think it's safe to say this is a million times better. Now on to the next minifigure.
You look like you've just seen a ghost.
You were dead.
She was left for dead on the sands of Tatooine, as was I. But fate sometimes steps in to rescue the wretched.
So here we have Fennec, the only minifigure which I didn't make for the original Mandalorian project. Now at the time I just thought that the character was just not interesting enough and that the outfit just wouldn't work. But I've decided in the end that I'd give it a go, and I think it looks pretty good. It is actually fairly simple, there's really not much that went into this, but I think that is just a really clean minifigure. Now I started by doing something which I haven't done before, which is I want to make this minifigure really slim. So with the torso, I actually shaved off the front of the first ghost at the bottom, just to make it a lot thinner around the waist, so then I could put this belt on so it wouldn't look too bulky around the waist, so I wanted it to be really thin. Then all of the other details on this figure are all electrical tape. It was all then painted in black and added some little orange details and things, really nothing special. The face is all painted by me apart from some certain elements like the eyes, which are already printed from Lego's face. Then the hair was a standard Lego hairpiece with a ponytail, and then I sculpted quite a lot onto the back to make it look more like Fennec's hair. It would have been better if I used the slave Leia hair from a few years ago, but I don't really have access to that piece right now, so I think this works quite well. Her blaster is just a Car 98, and then I just glued on a normal Lego Star Wars scope. It's a bit lazy, but I think it works. Then that was just painted in matte black around the center, and then I left the outsides a bit shinier. I decided not to do a helmet for this figure in the end, just because I thought it was quite a strange shape and would take quite a long time to do, and these videos are already taking long enough. And also, since my more recent Mandalorian project figures just didn't have the helmets, I thought that it would make more sense, so I could have all of the helmetless minifigures. So that is it for Fennec. I think this figure is very simple, but I think it works. I think it resembles her quite well. Not heaps of detail, but I think that's fine for some characters. Now, on to the next character. And finally, we have Cara Dune. Now, this is the second time I've done a Cara Dune minifigure. I did a completely different one for the first Mandalorian project, and this one looks so much better. I did keep certain things the same, like the head and hair are basically the same, but I did repaint a few things on the head just because there were some things that didn't really work. But all of the torso, the arms and the legs and all that is all completely new. So the sculpting is fairly basic, you can kind of tell what it was. It was kind of a bit hard to do those shoulder parts, but I think they look quite nice. I had to carve them out quite a lot after sculpting them to fit the arms underneath, and it would have been better if I could have just kept the arms in. But obviously I need to be able to take them in and out to kind of change things while I'm painting it and stuff. So that just wasn't doable, but I think that from a practical sense it did work quite well. Then the painting was also fairly simple. There's just some black matte paint for the torso, and then obviously the greens and things. And since I used green stuff already, I didn't have to give it a perfect coat of green, because that actually made it look a bit better, because Cara Dune doesn't actually have completely perfect armor. Her armor does have a lighter green, much like the green stuff green, so I think that worked quite well. The legs were very simple to paint. I literally just painted the boots on, a few different details on the armor, and then also those silver bits around the thighs. And then there's not really much else to it apart from adding a few bits of battle damaging and things. The blaster is literally just a brick arms blaster where I attached a normal Star Wars scope, much like with Fennec, and I think that looks pretty good. I just painted a few details on there afterwards. I think that just looks quite nice. It looks like hers, it's not anything fancy, but it works. That's it for Cara Dune. I think this figure is still not perfect, but I really don't like Cara Dune as a character, so I just wasn't motivated enough to try and make this figure better than any of the others. So without further ado, let's end this showcase. So that is it for the final project showcase for the Mandalorian project, at least for now. Now, for some reason, I'll probably end up going back in the future and doing it again, probably when I'm a lot better. But for now, for the foreseeable future, this is it. Now, next week, I should have the finished project with 8 of the best minifigures from the Mandalorian project, including these 3 and 5 different ones, which you've all seen before. but you may have missed some episodes and things, so it'll be a good one to watch. So make sure you stick around to check that out. So without further ado, make sure you subscribe to see the rest of this project and more, and goodbye.